If you've been keeping up with the channel, then you'd know that it's about the time of year where I rank the new coming coasters. Every summer into fall, theme parks around the world announce their upcoming rides, and every year I make a video ranking them. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. This isn't a huge year, it's a lot of medium or smaller additions because of COVID leftovers, but there are still a couple notable ones to get into. So I'm not dilly-dallying in this one, I'm going to tell you the 6 best coasters coming next year to the US. Okay, this is last place, but this is a bit of a wild card. We don't really know that much about this except for the fact that RMC is handling the conversion. Now, it's a family coaster, not a new full-scale RMC, but I still think this will be a good ride. Pretty much everything RMC touches turns to gold, so I don't see why them redoing a small coaster instead of a massive one would be any different. They'll also probably refurbish a lot of the theming elements of the ride, which will really round out the experience. If you can have a smooth, somewhat thrilling family coaster and have it well themed, then I think you have a hit. Silver City always does a really good job with their rides, so I don't think this will be any different. But really, this opens up so many doors for RMC. I never would have thought that they would do a family coaster dark ride hybrid conversion, especially an indoors one. I could definitely see the Busch Gardens parks or SeaWorld parks doing this RMC family makeover, or just ground up dark ride coasters. There's not that much to talk about here because there's not that much we know about, but I'm sure this will be good, so I'm including it on the list. Okay, this one got announced like 2 years ago. This is one of 2 coasters opening at the new Codaland in Texas, and it's a Gerstlauer Infinity coaster with a vertical spike. The selling point of this ride is a zero-G stall that goes over the freeway, but there's also some other cool things like this wave turn and vertical hop stall thing. That seems kind of gimmicky. It's a shuttle coaster, which I feel like are starting to become more and more popular, but I think this layout actually lends itself well to being a shuttle coaster. Like, a lot of these elements would be really cool to do backwards, like an inline twist and the stall over the freeway, but I don't think the first drop is 90 degrees because it says near vertical, and if it was fully vertical, the marketing team would have a field day. But there is a twist in the drop, and it actually looks like a pretty aggressive one. I don't know why, but I feel like in the back row, this will be one of the best drops in the US. That might be random and out of pocket, but I don't know. Something about it looks really intense. Gerstlauer is a pretty consistent manufacturer, and by that I mean consistently good, so I have no doubt that this will be at least a solid ride. I talked about this one in my Shrinking B&Ms video, which I'll put in the card or description or somewhere, but I can give you the cliff notes again here. This is a good ride for Dorney, but it's not an impressive ride. It's great the park is getting a flagship B&M, it'll definitely bring in crowds and make buzz. Dives are eye-catching rides, and so it's going to be a hit with the GP. But this ride is nothing special. It's kind of short in both height and length, and it's not doing anything we haven't seen in a dive coaster. The elements aren't snappy, they're not unique, and the beyond 90-degree drop has been done now. I know they couldn't have afforded anything better, so I'm happy for the park that they'll at least be getting this, but for a ranking video like this, I can't put it any higher. Again though, if you want to hear my full thoughts on it, check it out in the B&M video. This is the other major coaster from Codaland opening next year. This is a Vekoma tilt coaster, and even though the tilt is obviously the selling point, the rest of the layout is nothing to slouch at. It's like an enthusiast dive coaster. The first drop is 90 degrees straight down, and there's an intense and creative layout that follows. You get barrel rolls, this Immelman stall thing, and a bunch of airtime moments scattered throughout. It's basically one of those new gen Vekomas everyone's been drooling over tacked onto a tilt coaster. I mean, it's not basically, that's exactly what it is. The ride stays mostly low to the ground, even going underground for a total, and only really pops up for this rip ride rocket type twisty thing. It really focuses on quick transitions and aggressive pop-ups of airtime, which is exactly what the other Vekomas focus on. It has a race car theme, which I'm pretty sure is in line with the rest of the park that could be really cool if there was some on-ride audio, or at least an announcer or rumbling sound effects before the drop. I really hope these catch fire and start to replace dive coasters, because as much as I love the drop on dive coasters, the layout is nothing compared to what's going on here. And the drop on circuit breaker honestly could be cooler than on a dive coaster. You still have that suspense when you're staring straight down, and it's probably honestly even scarier because you're at such a steep angle. Drop isn't as big though, so I don't know if you're going to get that stomach dropping feeling, but I think it still looks really good. Overall, this is a really unique looking ride and probably will be the headliner of the new park. This is the number 2 spot, but this is the one I am the most excited for, not only because I go to Six Flags Great Adventure a lot, but also because it looks just as unique as Circuit Breaker and is a good indicator of the direction Six Flags is going in. Flash Vertical Velocity is a new gen Vekoma super boomerang with a vertical spike and some inversions and airtime moments. Now, they did call this a family coaster, but like, just look at it. This is not fit for a family of 4. It has a 48-inch height requirement, which seems a little short, but so does Jersey Devil No Toro, so I think Great Adventure is just clueless about height requirements. Now, I know this is just the animation, inversion, but I feel like this ride is running a little slow. That might be the goal with the big inversions for hang time, but I feel like a lot of the airtime pops won't hit if it's running like this. But they already have some clothes of the ride overseas, and it looks like the elements are hitting, so if it runs like that, then we should be fine. There's also those launches in the valleys that I'm sure will also get the train up to speed, so the animated POV could just be like completely irrelevant. Now, a lot of people are complaining about the ride capacity, and while yeah, it is a low capacity ride, I don't think this will really be an issue. First of all, this isn't going to be a star coaster. Like, this will definitely be a one and done for most people, so already the line isn't going to be super crowded after like opening week. But also, Great Adventure is just a huge park with a lot of rides. Yeah, a lot of people want to ride this because it's new, but a lot of people will also just not really care and be on any of the other 14 roller coasters. I don't think capacity is going to be as big of an issue as people make it out to be, because it's also not a super long ride. But yes, there's no turntable, and yes, they are maxed out on one train ops, so if you're trying to go opening day or even just opening week, you will have to wait. Shocker, you have to wait for a new ride. This ride is going to be near Cyborg and Justice League, so depending on which angle you're coming from, that's kind of the front and kind of the back of the park. I don't know, it's in a weird spot, but I'm kind of glad it's going there because I always felt that was a dead section of the park. But beyond just this ride, I think this is great for Six Flags. New gen Vekomas seem right up the company's alley for cloned, high quality rides, and I wouldn't mind seeing a couple more of these pop up at parks. Obviously, I don't want it to be like the old boomerangs where it's at like half of the parks in America, but if 2 or 3 other Six Flags parks got this exact ride, I don't think I'd really have an issue. Okay, so I made a video on this before it was announced, basically saying that nothing was happening. I said the Dragster would open with an LSM launch and have the exact same layout. No spike, no rolling launch, no repaint. Then they announced that there would be a spike, a rolling launch, and a repaint. So yeah, this video is basically pointless now because Dragster is getting completely revamped. They're adding a backwards vertical spike and 3 launches to get you up to speed. It's basically an entirely new ride because the best part about the old one was the hydraulic launch that punched you in the gut, and the new one just doesn't have that. But I'm sure a vertical spike this big and a rolling launch at 120 miles per hour are going to be crazy and unlike anything else on the ride. The rest is basically identical. You have the top out into the spiral before hitting the brakes. No airtime hail though like King Cod, just slamming into the flat brake run. There's not really much else to talk about though about this ride because it's not a completely new ride except for that name being just pretty horrible. So I'm just going to end off by saying that I think this will be a great ride, but I don't know if it'll be as good as the original. We'll just have to wait and see. Thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end. If you have any other rankings or if I missed any rides, then drop them in the comments below. Thanks again, and I will see you all next time.